Excellent. So, as usual, I'm going to record this, but hopefully that's not going to prevent anyone from participating. Um, and we're going to have a little summary that I'll share at the end. But welcome to today's webinar from Overwhelmed to Empowered. And the reason I thought about this is exactly what we were just talking about, right? Boundaries are important and critical all year long. But when it comes to the holidays, for some reason it all piles up and we have more personal things and family things that we want to do, and work piles up because we need to finish what we're doing before we go on holiday. And there's just so much pressure on us where all year we've been saying yes to too much, and then at this time it all just collapsed. So my objective for today is to try to help you identify some of those things where we should say no. Which ways can we say no? Because sometimes that's even the bigger issue, as well as what happens when we try to set boundaries and they're not respected. Because I was having a very interesting conversation with someone a couple of weeks ago, and that was exactly what she said. She said, well, I try to set boundaries, but my boss just doesn't listen. She just wants everything done anyways. And so we practiced some other scripts, and I think the conversation was helpful to her because then she was able to have a way of responding that was aligned with really what she needed. So again, holidays, family, colleagues, everybody expects you to show up. And like Becky said, sometimes people just plan big things that either don't align with your time or what you really want to do for the holidays. And sometimes all we need is just time for ourselves. Maybe everybody's used to us hosting for the holidays. And this year, either maybe you don't have the money, you don't want to, or you just want to have a peaceful holiday and you have the pressure. Everybody's like, oh, yeah, so what time do we show up for Christmas? Well, actually, we want to take it slow. Or those things, we need to practice them so we're comfortable when the time comes. And that's what I really want to cover today. If at any point in time you have any questions, you want to chime in, you can either just get yourself off mute or put the little virtual hand up so I can see you. And again, I want this to be interactive. If you have anything to contribute, feel free to do that. Or in the chat, I also have the little chat down there. As I said, sometimes having a framework helps tremendously because then you're prepared. Because I'll be honest, we know what's going to come up. We know what kind of thing we're going to expect it to do. We know the kids' functions that are going to be coming up. We know the work functions and family expectations. And we know what we want to do. We know what really matters to us and what is within our values. And we know what we don't want to. And sometimes we don't have to. So we just need to practice and really understand what is it that you need to do to conserve your energy and have the focus to be able to be present for what adds value to you, your family, and your personal life, right? And scripts, as funny as it sounds sometimes, it helps a lot because when you practice what to say, it comes out so much more natural at the time. And also it allows you to anticipate different things that may come up that you know you had trouble in the past saying no to. So maybe giving yourself some scripts helps tremendously. So I'll share some with you and you can tailor them to your own voice, your own way of doing things. And I will give you a clearer path for how to navigate through the holidays and beyond, because I want to make sure you guys also use this after the holidays when other things come up, because this is really a year-long thing. Before we get too much into it, I know most of you know who I am, but Vanessa Castillo, I have over 25 years of experience in the pharmaceutical industry and over 20 of those in leadership. So I've been through a lot of these situations. I've been in situations where I should have said no, and I said yes instead. Even I shared my experience from last night, but also another one that I share a lot on LinkedIn, and it's not necessarily a holiday end of year thing, but a couple years ago, my dad had passed away a year earlier. My mom was visiting my sister in Spain. She had been there for almost 3 months. Bless my sister and her husband. And I had promised them that I was going to make it to at least be with them for a week. I don't get to see them both together very often. And it was almost the time where she had to go back home, and I still hadn't made it. So I mastered the strength and the courage to talk to my boss about taking just maybe Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, going all the way from Florida to Spain, which you waste 2 days just traveling and just jet lagged, to be honest, to spend just a couple days with my mom and my sister. And that really, when I came back, I was so mad with myself because it should have been a much longer trip. The happiness my mother had sharing those 3 days with both of us at the time where she was still mourning my dad's death. It was just, I couldn't find ways to just forgive myself for not having done it. And guess what? January came along, got laid off. What difference does it make, right? So sometimes we're our own worst enemies where we don't take the opportunity to put up boundaries, and we have to. And that protects our energy. And the world will go around without us for a few days, that's for sure. So, having shared some of my lowest moments, what are the costs of having weak boundaries? One is resentment, because when it comes to family, and you're expected everywhere, and they make you feel guilty because you're working, and you feel guilty yourself because you're working, but then you want to be everywhere and you can't. Something has to give. And at the end of the day, that resentment kind of boils over, and we don't enjoy our time off either, even if we took it. And it takes us to being exhausted and just not being able to enjoy any of it, right? And we all want to look like the picture in the first slide that I shared, right? This is who we want to be, sitting on a nice couch next to a nice fire, smiling, having fun, maybe the kids running around, or just having a pleasant conversation with our significant other. And we end up being this person. Which she does not look very happy. It is AI generated, but still. So we need to really be present and try to avoid that loss of presence that make us feel like we are nowhere. We're not focusing on work. We're not focusing on our family. We're not even focusing on ourselves, and expected to do everything. The stress just goes everywhere. To work, family, you end up, and it's happened to me, right? You end up just lashing out on your kids for no good reason, or your significant other, and then you feel even worse. Am I painting a bad picture enough? So really, boundaries, we always feel guilty, but at the end of the day, it's to protect our energy and on our presence, to be able to give the best of us in each one of the situations we say yes to. So we have to say no to some things to be able to give all of us to what we do say yes to. What I find that has helped me and some of my clients the most is understand why. So when you have that North Star and you know what you're fighting for, what you're fighting, if you will, your schedule, right? So you're trying to make sure you have space for yourself, for your family, for what's important, for the deliverables you know are critical. You have your North Star. And sometimes the personal boundaries are the worst, because it's always what suffers first in most cases. For me, these are my non-negotiables. My gym time. Anyone that knows me knows that that's a no-no. Do not mess with my workout time. And the thing is, it's a mind-body connection that I need to re-energize myself. And I know when I put it off, I hurt myself, because I'm not able to be present as I would if I would have worked out. Self-care, my chiropractor monthly, it allows me to sit and not feel pain in my back all month long. So yes, that's a big priority for me, even though it takes me 3.5 hours because I have to like travel for 45 minutes to an hour back and forth because there's nothing where I live. Um, and so, I mean, again, those are things that I protect with tooth and nail, right? There's nothing that comes between me and my chiropractor appointment. Farm time on the weekends, it's my cleanup of my mind. I come back so much more energized. And even though, believe me, throughout the weekend, I have super great ideas that I want to just do and new chats that I want to chat with ChatGPT for new ventures I want to start. And I stop myself. I make a quick note and I'll remember to do that on Monday because family time and being present for me is critical. It's not selfish. It is what really drives you to then have more energy to continue. So I would encourage all of you to think about your why. What if your North Star? Because it's much easier to say no when you know what you're protecting. And yeah, it may be on the back of your mind, but you have it front and center. It's easier and you don't feel guilty as much, at least at the beginning. And then it becomes habit. Because boundaries are not walls. And this is the main message I really want to push to you guys today or have you really consider. Boundaries protect what really is most important and more valuable. It may be that deliverable at work that you're not going to let little things come in between you and it, or your time with your kid, or being able to go to that school function where your kid is performing and you miss it because you were on email when he or she came up. That was terrible, right? And so boundaries really protect our personal fulfillment, if you will. And as Brené Brown, hopefully most of you know who she is. I love all the stuff that she's done with boundaries, especially being a woman. Daring to set boundaries, and I'm going to read it because I love this quote. Daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves, even when we risk disappointing others. And guess what? The more you practice putting boundaries up, the more people understand that when you do that, you're protecting also time with them at the right time, right? Because then when you're supposed to be with them fully, you're not distracted the same way that maybe you have to say no to them today so you can focus on something else. And you protect your energy. And when you protect your energy, you're able to really give others what they deserve as well. Type of boundaries, they're very clear. Work, we talked about them, right? It's the number one that we're horrible at putting up sometimes because we say yes to everything. Family and personal boundaries tend to suffer, right? At one point or another. And personal boundaries tend to be non-existent in the other direction of the work ones. Work ones, we don't put boundaries up, and we get too much done or too much energy on it. For our personal ones, we break our own boundaries or we have none, and it's what suffers because we're always putting ourselves last to give to everyone else. You can't give from an empty cup. That's just tested. So those internal boundaries really are the weak spot. And again, I think everybody would benefit from having personal boundaries. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. If you want to kind of quickly put in the chat, what is your number one boundary that you wish you would respect? While I kind of talk about this, I'll give you a minute to think, and maybe you can share. Checking emails at night is not only horrible because you're not giving your space to disconnect a little bit, but also because your brain keeps working when you get in bed if it's the last thing you did. So before bed, you want to have some affirmations, some happy moments, some positive experiences before going to bed. You're going to sleep a lot better. Don't check email. Make sure that you know what your schedule is before you go to bed so you don't have to at the last moment and get distracted with email. overfilling your schedule as well, right? How many times, as Shelly said earlier, right, Shelly? It was 11, breakfast still didn't happen. The number of times that I got on meetings with people when I was in corporate and one-on-ones, and the person would be like, do you mind if I eat while we talk? It was 4 p.m. and they hadn't had breakfast or lunch. I would be dying. I need to eat every 2, 3 hours. But we're horrible like at keeping promises to ourselves, right? And food is just, it helps you think and just manage your day. And you're skipping your self-care, going for a walk for a little bit. How many times it's 5 p.m. and you haven't even gone out from your desk? More than maybe walk to the bathroom, because once you get older, you do that a lot more frequently. Feeling guilty for resting, it's really something my daughter always remembers. She was maybe, I don't know, 12. It was a Sunday. I was laying on the couch, book open, and it was 11 a.m. And she goes, Mommy, are you okay? Are you sick? I was like, no, I'm just taking a lazy day. And she goes, Mommy, lazy day? That just didn't happen. I didn't rest. And so we have to take time for ourselves, and we shouldn't feel guilty. After that, let me tell you, I did that a lot more. I did not want to be the one that didn't rest, and I needed it. So enough of people pleasing, enough of telling everyone yes. Think about what you are sacrificing when you say yes to everything. Remember your North Star. What are your non negotiables? And maybe that's going to be easier. So, anyone else wants to share the number one? Marina, let's see here. She says, I can't get off my phone at night, scrolling, reading. I need to get better at putting it down to give myself the rest before bed. Yes, we all are guilty of that one. Uh-huh. Yes, exactly. Anyone else wants to share? While I take a sip. Okay, let's keep moving then. Um, Stop and take free time to rest and reconnect. Yes, Shaylee, absolutely. That's critical. The stop and think, it's something we don't do frequently, and we should do more, because then we realize what is it that's bringing us down. This is your blueprint. This is what I want you to remember. The workflow you're going to get from here to get better at boundaries. Define your North Star and your non-negotiables. Maybe personally, look at the boundary that you have the hardest time with. Is it work? Is it family? Is it personal? Identify your North Star. Identify why you're going to say no to something that's coming your way, right? Identify why. What is it that's going to keep you strong when normally you would feel guilty for saying no? Spot and pre-identify what you know is going to come that's going to drain you. So then you can practice what you're going to say. I mean, we all know it, right? As I said, if you're expected to host every Christmas, and this year you just don't want to. You just, I mean, maybe it's your first year as a empty nester and your kid is coming and you don't want the entire family there. You just want your time with your kid. So we have to think about that, and we have to come up with the answer, because we know who exactly is going to call us to kind of try to start planning the thing at your house. And no. Or maybe you pre-plan before anybody asks, sending a message to the family saying, this year we just want to keep it simple. I want to enjoy my time with my kid. I haven't seen him or her for so many months. We're taking it slow. We decided not to host this year. Love you all. See you for New Year. And we shouldn't feel guilty about that. We're protecting our time for what we need at that moment. And so if you practice it, you spot it, you know why you're doing it, it's a lot easier to know how to confront the problem. And then you deliver it clearly. As I said, no big explanation needed. Even if it's at work with your boss, you know it's going to come with a last minute. I know you're off, but could you be on email because, well, let's think about how we're going to manage that conversation this year. So it's not a guilt trip, right? Because people are so good at giving us guilt trips all the time. So again, for work, I know this one's a little harsh if it comes from your boss. I don't know that anybody will say, I just don't have the capacity right now. No, right? But we can practice some of those. Maybe a colleague that's typically comes to ask, can you cover for me this year? I don't have the capacity right now. I'm sorry, this year I just can't. No more explanation needed. Maybe if it is your boss, you can say, this is what I'm prioritizing before I take off this year. I understand this is urgent. What do you, can we work together to see what just doesn't get done instead? That shows you're committed, you're a team player, you're willing to shift things around, but you just can't do it all. And if you have been doing it all, it's hard to say no. And always, it's people confuse urgent, important, and just want to get it out of my plate. So maybe asking questions. So help me understand, why does this need to be done before the 20th when I go off on the 21st? Let's look at it together. Is there anything else we can do so this can be moved to January? Or you just know it doesn't need to get done. So maybe say, you know what? Typically, this doesn't need to be done before the 5th. I'll get working on that on the 3rd when I come back. I think, no, 3rd and 4th at a weekend this time. Monday is the 5th. I'll get it done on the 2nd or whatever. Or just find ways to say, we'll get it done, just not now. If you know that's really not necessary. And again, you can come up with different scripts that work for you. And again, I'll be more than happy to get on the phone with any of you if you want to schedule a call after this and just talk about what are those that you have a hard time at the end of the year or any time of the year. And let me help you come up with some strategies. Maybe just brainstorming. Sometimes just talking it through with someone else helps a lot. So let me know if you need support. I'm here for you. Some for family and personal life, as I think I gave a few examples already. I don't know that I would ever say I'm choosing peace over obligation to anyone, but that's what you need to keep repeating to yourself. It's more of a mantra, of a self-affirmation to keep that North Star nice and protected. And pushback will come. And you can say, I understand you're disappointed, but this is so important for me this year. This is the way I want to manage it. No more explanation. The more you talk, the more you try to justify, the more it's going to be another pushback of how you're just not even being reasonable. If you're strong, you stick to guns, it will get done. Scripture self-boundaries. These are more like mantras or affirmations. You can say them before going to bed. When you wake up in the morning, before all those asks come, honor your rest. Give yourself an alarm. Whatever time it is that you decide not to work anymore, maybe it's 5, maybe it's 6, maybe it's 7. Put an alarm. Once the alarm goes off, no ifs or buts. Close the computer. Move on. Do something else. I'm doing that myself after my last night thingy. Think about it before you say yes. Maybe you're someone that has a hard time saying no and you say yes before you even realize. Just give yourself a minute to breathe and think. And if you've been practicing some scripts, they're going to come up a lot easier to say no to others to protect your own self time. And when you're about to say yes, you need to remember why you actually need to say no. So what happens when the boundary isn't respected? And this happens a lot at work, but it could happen personally as well with family, right? I was, again, talking to someone and that's what she said as I shared at the beginning of the meeting. This is all well and dandy. I love your idea for the webinar, but my issue is I put up boundaries and people go like, I get it, but I still need all of it done. So what do we do in those situations? Because we need to stay strong. Because if you're always the one that is saying yes to everyone, everyone is used to you having unlimited access to you, they're going to take advantage of that. And guess what? They get used to it. The first time you say no, it's going to be like, what? She said no? Huh? So we need to prepare for that because we want to have a new habit where we respect our boundaries and our own time and energy, and others learn to do it as well. I mean, imagine how hard it is for you to get a new habit, to start a new habit and keep the new habit. For others to accept your new habit, if it's not in their own benefit, is even harder because at least you have a benefit for why you're doing it. They don't like it. So we need to practice so it comes up more naturally and make people understand. A lot of times it's a lack of knowledge of everything that's on your plate. It maybe a boss with the best intentions doesn't know that you're working in 1.5 million things. Maybe you need to voice that and say, I would love to be able to accommodate that, and you list everything that's a priority right now. And if it's still, well, but I still need this done, then you go into, okay, help me understand what can wait then. And having that conversation. It's not going to be easy, but it has to happen because the sooner you get on with this new habit, the sooner things will change and then they're not going to come to you. Or if they do, this is the best part that's happened to me with a boss once. I started doing that and then she came and said, I know there's a lot on your plate. I need this done. What else is there that I can just give someone else to take care for you? Brilliant, right? But that had not happened until I put boundaries up and she started to understand that I could do it all. I just don't have limited time. Tell me what's priority. I'll do it. And everything will be able to be done with quality. Asking the question. Sometimes just asking the question of really when things need to be done. The person kind of goes, oh, you're right. Yeah, we can just do that when we're back on the 5th. It's not due until the 15th. I'm just used to doing it in December, and this time I'm going out earlier. Okay. You'd be surprised the number of times that happens just when you ask a question. And it's a culture that rewards burnout. I had a boss that she was so, I mean, you could hear it in her voice, right? She was complaining that she was traveling so much and missing so many of her kids' functions. But on the other hand, it was almost pride in her voice that she was doing all of this for the company. And I really felt bad for her. But it's this culture where if you're burned out and you're still going at it, you're supposed to be someone idealized. To me, no, thank you. That's not what I want to be. That's not my values. I'd rather go to my kids' function. So you just need to understand and prioritize what's valuable to you. For her, it was valuable to be on the road nonstop. Who knows why? I don't want to know her personal life. I did not take that personally to say, then that's what's expected of me, because I didn't expect that of me. So I was not going to do it. Right. So again, just think about different perspectives and maybe they have a reason for wanting to be that way. You can protect your energy anyways. So again, what do we say, right? Again, same thing. I could do, yeah, just get it all done. I don't care. Everything needs to be done. No, we can't push anything to January. And this is a very unreasonable boss that you just want no part of. And then you go to the only thing that's left, which is I understand everything needs to be done. My values are with giving good outputs, doing my work with high quality. I can get it all done, but I will not have time to QC and check the final product for all of this. That's the only way I can get it done. Is that okay with you? You document it in writing and you move on, right? I mean, there's not much you can do. Now, that's the short-term solution. You can try to put boundaries back up. You can lower your own standards, which guess what? That only can happen once or twice. If you're constantly doing that, you're not true to yourself and you're hurting your own values. And so what happens in the long run, you start just being very resentful and you need to think about what's next. So the short term, yeah, aspiration, all the little tricks and things we've been talking about. But long term, you have to have a different conversation with yourself. Is this something that I want to do forever? Is this sustainable? Is this aligned with my values? Heck no. My pride is in doing things right. I won't lower my standards just because you want everything done and you don't know how to prioritize yourself. So you push everything to my plate last minute. Because that's typically what happens. Or they don't know how to delegate, or everyone else is so good at saying no or doing crappy work that you're the one everybody goes to. Something has to give. So really, my recommendation is think about what's important to you, think about your values, and look elsewhere. It's the short answer, because it's hard to think about it, right? But you just don't have time to look at other jobs. You don't have time to look at other things. Who knows what's out there? It's just I can give you a laundry list of excuses, but they're just that, excuses. You need to take a deep breath, block half an hour in your calendar every day, every other day, to look for other opportunities, because you need to be true to yourself and you need to make sure that you're protecting your energy for those you love the most. Because when you're giving too much for work, you're not paying attention to your kids, you're not paying attention to your significant other, and you become someone you're not. So you're constantly unhappy and continuing on that wheel that doesn't take you anywhere. So, and then boundary reset. This is kind of just to put it all together. Everything I talked about, one or two can be interchangeable. Which one you start with first? Look at what are the things that drain you and the things you know are coming that drain you. Look at your North Star, which will keep you whole and strong when you have to say no without much explanation, or just work on your script. Work on scripts for work, pick one day. So if we do it, this is a 7 day, right? Because we can't do everything at once. The only way to eat an elephant is a little piece at a time. So you look at your North Star, you identify what you know it's coming and it's going to drain you. You work on a boundary for personal life, next day family life, next day work life. Start with the one that's the hardest for you. And then build on that. Work on those scraps. So you're not judging yourself. So you're not feeling guilty. So you know why you're doing it. So then you don't feel guilty because you have a reason to protect it. We feel guilty when there's nothing behind it that's keeping us strong. Bringing it all together, boundaries are a skill, not a trait. People say, oh, I'm so bad at boundaries. Guess what? You can get started today, and in a year, you'll be like, boundaries was a thing I could work on. I learned. And it's something you can work on. But again, as any habits, it has to be every day, a little bit at a time. Identifying, do a lot of assessment yourself on what is this that's draining me? What is it that I need to put better boundaries? What is it that I'm missing that it's my non-negotiable? How am I going to fix it? And then practice every day. And that's the only way you're going to get there. At the end of the day, if this really resonated with you, if you need help, I always offer the half hour. You can call it action time, clarity call, coffee with friends, and we can just continue the conversation, right? And we can talk about what's happening with you today. How can I help you maybe understand and tweak some things so you feel better and you're able to honor your own priorities for the holidays and beyond. And again, I'm always here to help. But I'd love to hear from you guys. You're very quiet today. What resonated the most with you today? Where did you go? That's the one I need to work on. I want to hear it. Shaylee, I saw you come off mute.
I need to say no. And before saying yes to everything, just to say no and analyze and consider if I have all the time and priorities before just saying yes because I want to help. Huh? So
Exactly, exactly. Give yourself a pause to remember your North Star.
exactly. Just
Yep,
reset, set up new boundaries, and start again. Yeah,
exactly. Yep,
that's my
yep.
takeaway.
There you go. Start today. Identify what is it you're going to say no tomorrow. Anyone else wants to share? Marina?
I figured I have to come off mute. So I know that we've spoken of this. This is my husband's having a situation. And a lot of when I'm trying to talk to him about setting those boundaries and trying to figure out, essentially, he is burning himself out, both ends of the candle. He's doing everything, he's in every part of the business. Excuse me. And in trying to find out why he's unable to set those boundaries, or where he doesn't feel comfortable, there was a little moment of clarity that he had said the other day, which was he feels like he has to stay there. Like he needs to be and take this job in because it is the only thing we have. And, like all this responsibility is on him. And so he'll do everything. He'll take every moment, every job that is thrown at him. And he's honestly burning himself out. Do you have any like thoughts or how to clarify when you're trying to do that self-reflection piece?
Yeah, no, and I know we've talked about this, and I was thinking about that the other day. One thing, and that you can ask him is just think about this, and pretend you're getting laid off today. What's your next move? Right? And keep asking why, and he'll be like, oh no, I can't do that. Why? And I know you're great at asking why. But I think giving him the alternative, it's almost like my thing of I didn't go on vacation with my mom and my sister because reorganization was happening. I still got laid off in January.
Yeah.
So what? Right? But at least I had a plan. I knew layoffs were coming. I knew it could be a possibility. So I worked on my plan B. And I think for him, I know he feels like he needs to provide for the family, but there has to be something else out there.
Like that
And
plan B.
the plan B, and I think maybe the way to shift his thinking is, okay, you have to stay there, but nobody can guarantee that. So why don't we create a safety net for you instead of feeling that that's the only thing on earth that can save you? And maybe that's going to make him feel a lot more in control, right? Because it gives him back the control because now the company is not controlling his time. He is. If the company decides he's not for them anymore, and be like, okay, maybe you weren't for me, and this is what I'm going to do next, instead of just falling into, because that's also what happens, right? I've met so many people that get laid off, and they're like, their world is upside down until they can cope with that. So I'm not saying he will, but I know you know him better, right? And
It's again, providing that plan B, or at least get him thinking what if his worst case scenario does happen, because that's running through his head.
yeah,
What could we get proactive on,
yeah.
and getting that
And
that
maybe have him, and I think he doesn't work on Fridays, right? So
right.
have him block a 2 hour on his calendar named Plan B every Friday. No
Yeah.
ifs or buts. It's called Plan B. And he's gonna have to think about that. And even if he's just sitting on a couch looking at the ceiling thinking about Plan B, something will spark.
Yeah, I mean, his Fridays are work days too, even though he's not in the office. So, like, he's got that Monday through Thursday, 40 hours, which ends up being 60 to 80 hours. And then on Friday, on his day off, supposedly, he's always on the phone. He's always, on an email. He's always answering a
Hmm.
question.
But it's
And
the day he's supposed to be off.
right.
So it may be easier for him to justify, let's not say 2 hours, half an hour, maybe let's
Yeah.
start with that, an hour where he protects his own time. You're
Yeah.
supposed to
Even
be off
get
anyways, so
smaller
might as
and just do
well.
one task, right? Just
Yeah.
ask, you know, go on LinkedIn and make one change to your LinkedIn, or like I'll try to
Yeah,
minimize the task down small enough where it doesn't seem like it's so overwhelming.
because at one point, it's like when you guys were working on that proposal that he was doing, he was kind of not getting anywhere until he got excited. And then so
Mm.
I think it's just finding what is going to be the little task that will get him moving until it clicks and he
Yeah.
says, "Oh, yeah, let's do this." I don't
It's
know. That would be
frustrating for
my
me because I'm like, yes, this is, let's do da 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 da. And I'm like, I know that he's got his own way of working it. And by taking a step back, for myself and maybe just keeping it really small, how about we just do this one thing together, or
yeah. Yeah, and that may also be good. I mean, or if you have the time, just go on LinkedIn and see what's out there for him and then be like, "Oh, I saw this came
somebody
across my
else.
LinkedIn. Why don't you look into it?" And you
Right.
were there for an hour looking.
Right, exactly. No, you're right. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you for sharing, Marina.
You're welcome.
Becky, Annie, do you guys anything you'd like to share at this point? Hopefully, this was helpful. And Becky, if you want to talk more about your situation, I'd love to get on the phone and we can definitely talk one on one. Maybe I can help you brainstorm some ideas to respond to the family. Anyone else? No. Well, this has been fun, at least for me. I love sharing these with you guys. And our next webinar will not be until the end of January. Um, I still need to come up with a topic, but I think it's probably going to be around New Year resolutions and how to make those worth our time and really stick to them. It's a big one. And thank you, Blessing. Just put in there the link to set up a call with me if you want to. But I think that's what we're going to be talking about, which is how to set up New Year resolutions that are actually going to stick. Because we all know, I mean, we all know the gym one, right? Everybody signs up for the gym January 2nd because it's closed on the 1st. And it's packed in January, trickling down in February. There's nobody there in March, right? But when we set up good, strong boundaries and also objectives for ourselves for the year, and we put the systems in place to stay with them, then it's a lot easier to carry them on. So thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful holidays. I'm always here if you need me. You know how to find me. And I'd love to chat with you again in January. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Vane. Bye.
Bye. Have a good one. Okay. Let's see. I think you need to stop the recording on your side.